charges communication officers to build trust with the people through their messages. Reps to probe probable exclusion of rivers from benefiting states in federal government borrowings. APC postpones nationwide state congresses. On entertainment, American singer R. Kelly refuses to testify during trial.
And in sports, Nigerian Basketball Federation sets for decisive extraordinary congress.
Details of these and more after this break. I am Omoye Ogbeide. Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki has charged the newly trained communication officers in the state civil service to focus on building broken trust between the government and the masses in their various campaign messages. The governor gave the charge on Wednesday during his working visit to Edo Communication Organization ECHO at the John Oyegu Civil Service Academy in Benin City. KUFM's Chinedu Ekeja reports that the focus of the training was on improving the skills of the trainees and how to communicate government policies and programs to Edo people.
The Edo State government has been inventing a more efficient way to bring citizens up to speed with various government programs and policies. This training 120 communication officers on how to use different communication tools, strategies and approach to reach more citizens and create a greater sense of participation in the governance process is one of them.
During the course of our 1 month intensive training here, we'll be taught to be able to differentiate between mere communication and effective communication. And in putting this to work, my team and I came up with a feedback mechanism to effectively assess how effective our campaign is to these people.
After a month-long training, these 120 officers, drawn from various ministries and agencies of the government, were divided into various subgroups, namely culture and tourism, environment and sustainability, economic revolution, infrastructural development, as well as institutional reforms ECHO. Part of their proposed implementation strategies include use of radio and TV jingles, direct contact with the people, and use of communication signs and symbols, which will help reinforce the vision of the state government reform programs under the Make Edo Great Again mega project.
We'll also be reaching our secondary target audience, which are our investors and, of course, the entire citizens of Edo State.
But the primary focus and content of these campaign messages, according to Governor Obaseki, should be on building the broken trust.
One thing that is clear to me and to most of us is that the general public do not trust government. They don't trust government. Especially when you now look at the role of politicians in government. When you go out there, oh, who said that? Oh, we've heard it before. That's how they always say it. You know, they dismiss the message or discount the importance of the message. So the key challenge to us and to ECHO is how do we communicate to build trust? How do we communicate so that we can build the trust and belief in our people? When you go and say things or put out messages that people cannot verify, clearly they will just shake their heads. They will just not believe or trust what you have said. So in all we're doing, theme should be building trust with the people of Edo State.
He encouraged alignment in the delivery of government key communication messages in line with what are considered top priorities. 65 of these 120 communication officers were drawn from the Ministry of Communication and Orientation. 39 were from the new recruits into the state civil service, while 16 came from the Edo Internal Revenue Service and Edo Jobs. Chinedu Ekeja, KUFM News.
And President Muhammadu Buhari on Wednesday in New York said the federal government has initiated some specific actions to tackle and reverse the severe trend of biodiversity loss which affects the whole world. The president spoke in a video message to the hybrid high-level event tagged Transformative Actions for Nature and People on the margins of the 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly UNGA 76. According to a statement by his special advisor on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, Buhari said aside from campaigning regional and inter-regional cooperation towards addressing the scourge, other measures have been outlined. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, has said the federal government would not adopt the policy of naming and shaming in disclosing the identities of suspected financiers of terrorism activities. This, Malami said, was because the federal government acknowledges the constitutional right of such suspects to the presumption of innocence and would rather charge them to court for their identities to be made public in court. The government has for some months now announced the arrest of some financiers of terrorism, some of them allegedly Bureau de Change operators. Malami said the Complex Case Group, CCDG, of the Department of Public Prosecution of the Federation, DPP, in the Federal Ministry of Justice has reviewed over 1,000 Boko Haram case files, out of which 285 have been charged before the Federal High Court based on prima facie cases of terrorism against them. He explained that the prosecution of such cases was delayed because of the COVID-19 lockdown, judiciary staff union strike, and court vacation. Malami, according to a statement by his Special Assistant in Media and Public Relations, Umar Gwandu, spoke while addressing journalists on the sideline of the ongoing 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. And the Senate on Wednesday passed the 2022 to 2024 medium-term expenditure and fiscal strategy paper, retaining all the assumptions and projections submitted to it by President Muhammadu Buhari in July. The Red Chamber retains the exchange rate of 410.15 naira per dollar proposed by the executives and also approved the projected gross domestic product growth rate of 4.20%. The Senate retains the projected inflation rate at 13%, fiscal deficit estimate of 5.62 trillion naira. Buhari's projected new borrowings of 4.89 trillion naira, including foreign and domestic borrowing, were also retained and approved. Also, the $3.5 billion International Monetary Fund loan at a rate of 0.01% to 0.02% proposed by the President was also approved to shore up the internal borrowing and to reduce external borrowing because of the exchange rate risk. The Senate retains the federal government's 2022 revenue projection of 8.38 trillion naira and expenditure of 13.98 trillion naira. And the Senate has passed 2 bills for the establishment of an orthopedic hospital in Dekina, Kogi State, and Federal College of Education, Omo Ekiti State. The approval of the 2 bills was sequel to the consideration of 2 separate reports by the Senate committees on health and tertiary institutions and TED Fund. The reports were presented by Senator Yaya Oloriegbe and Nora Dadut. Oloriegbe, in his presentation, observed that Nigeria is one of the densely populated countries in the world, which is plagued with poverty and an exceeding high burden of disease. He explained that orthopedic hospitals are important in improving health care in patients, adding that locating one in Dekina would bring health care closer to residents of densely populated urban and rural communities. And the House of Representatives on Wednesday indicated its willingness to investigate the probable exclusion of Rivers State from the list of states to benefit from the federal government's borrowings. This is sequel to a motion of urgent public importance by Representative Solomon Bob, alleging that Rivers is the only state out of the 36 states to be left out. The lawmaker further alleged discrimination against Rivers State, which contributes enormously to the Federation account. The House has mandated its Committee on Aids and Loans to liaise with the Presidency to include Rivers State in the loans if it is found to be the only state that has been excluded. The Rep's move is coming 2 days after Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike described as an act of discrimination the alleged refusal of the federal government to include Rivers as one of the states that would benefit from projects for which it was seeking fresh foreign loans to execute. The All Progressives Congress APC has rescheduled its nationwide state congresses earlier slated for October 2nd. The exercise has now been rescheduled to Saturday, October 16, 2021. While no reason was advanced for the postponement, it was guarded that it was due to logistics challenges and the need to carry every stakeholder along. The disclosure was contained in a statement issued Wednesday in Abuja and signed by the National Secretary of its Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, Senator John James. He said an updated timetable, schedule of activities and guidelines for the conduct of the state congresses will be released to the public in due course. The party had on September 4th conducted its nationwide local government congresses, having conducted its ward congresses the previous week earlier. And coming up in a moment in entertainment news, American singer R. Kelly refuses to testify during trial. Details shortly after this break. It's London News Break on KU 92.7 FM Benin City. Some entertainment stories. American R&B singer, songwriter Robert Sylvester Kelly, popularly known as R. Kelly, told a judge on Wednesday that he will not testify in his own defense at his federal sex trafficking trial to avoid the risk of a potential brutal cross-examination. When asked by the judge if he understood the implications of his decision, he replied in the affirmative. During the closing arguments on Wednesday afternoon, a prosecutor told jurors that the government had delivered on its promises to prove that the R&B singer had for years commanded close associates to help him target, groom and exploit girls, boys and young women for his own sexual gratification. Jurors could begin deliberating as early as Thursday. The 54-year-old faces a life sentence if convicted as charged. The brief defense case has relied on just a handful of former Kelly employees and other associates who agreed to take the stand over the course of 2 days to try to discredit allegations that he sexually abused women, girls and boys during the 30-year musical career. Most of the defense witnesses said they never saw Kelly abuse anyone. Nigerian singer and songwriter Korede Bello's 2017 single Do Like That has been certified gold in the United States. The Maven Records product becomes the 6th Nigerian record to be certified gold this decade after records by Burna Boy, Davido and Wizkid. Currently, the song has 120 million streams on YouTube. This comes after news that Wizkid's Essence has been certified platinum in the U.S. This, in turn, makes the song Maven's first gold record in the U.S. And that's it from entertainment. And in sports, NBBF set for decisive extraordinary Congress. Details on our sports bulletin.
Thank you, Omoye. Bearing last-minute changes, the gladiators in a crisis that has rocked the Nigerian Basketball Federation, NBBF, for the better part of 4 years, will meet in Abuja October 2nd to decide the way forward for the Federation. The NBBF has been immersed in a leadership crisis since the last Federation elections, supervised by former Sports Minister Sunday Solomon Dalong. This led to the emergence of two factions of the body, one led by Musa Kida and the other by former MBBF President Tijani Umar. According to sources close to the factions, current Sports Minister Sunday Dare, who has pledged to be fair to all stakeholders in the forthcoming elections, has ordered the MBBF to hold a congress where they will agree on the constitution to be adopted by the polls, among other issues. In a letter dated September 21, 2021, and sent out to the 36 States Basketball Association Chairman and the Federal Capital Territory by the MBBF Secretary, Mrs. Afolabi Oluwayemi Olabisi, the Congress will take place at Hotel the Bentley Otako, Abuja. It said delegates are expected to arrive on Friday for the all-important Congress, which will ratify the date, venue, and other details for the 2021 MBBF elections. Two retired Super Falcons superstars, Nkiru Okosieme and Okowa Igumbo, will be on ground on Sunday, September 26th, at the new Festival Hall, Government House, Benin City, to pick and conduct the draw ceremony for the first edition of the Betsy Obaseki Cup. Time is 8 p.m. The local organizing committee of the event, headed by Mrs. Sabina Chikere, disclosed that 12 top women's league clubs in Nigeria will battle for the Betsy Obaseki Cup title, with the team promoting the girl child at 4 different venues in Benin City: the School of Health Technology, Uniben Sports Complex, Western Boys High School, with the opening ceremony, the semi-finals, and the final to be played at the Samuel Ibomedia Stadium, Benin City. In the words of member main organizing committee of the Betsy Obaseki Cup, Honorable Frank Ilaboya, Nkiru and Okowa, who are household names in women's football in Nigeria and across the world, were specially invited for these roles to encourage and promoting the girl child in the area of sports and education. And that's it here from our sports desk. Many thanks for joining us. And I'll hand you back to Omoye Obaide for a wrap-up of the news.
Thank you very much, Chidendun. That's the news. But before we go, a quick recap of the headlines. Governor Obaseki charges communication officers to build trust with the people through their messages, and reps to probe probable exclusion of rivers from benefiting states in federal government borrowings. And APC postpones nationwide state congresses. Do remember that the continued unity of Nigeria is a collective responsibility. Be sure to play your part. KFM's news break was produced by Blessing Asakome. I am Omoye Ogbaide saying thanks for listening. Good morning.